In this video, I'm going to talk about how to deal with the payment in foreign currency transactions. So let's say a purchase invoice in Canadian dollar and we want to settle that invoice in currency other than Canadian dollar. So let's say if my settlement is in euro, then I will have to enter the payment that we make in Canadian dollar. Because our invoice currency is in Canadian dollar, but we are paying in euro. That's why we have to enter the equivalent amount of payment in invoice currency so that we will have the exchange rate calculated here. 2,000 euro is, let me just put 1.5. Then the exchange rate is automatically calculated. This will be used in the backend to generate journal entries in the accounting interface. Okay, let me just go back. In case if we change the settlement back to Canadian dollar, which is the invoice currency, then we have to manually delete that. And it is the same case for the sales invoice in the interbank transactions. But in this video, I'm going to focus only on the payment side of the foreign currency transaction. So let's dive in. Actually, I've created code, but you will notice there's an error in this cell because if I didn't enter the transaction party, I will get an error code here, right? That's why before we fill in the payment part of foreign currency transactions, press N to go to the backend and let me change the transaction currency code formula. From the transaction currency code, we have an error here, right? That's why we also have the error reading the currency code in the payment part of the foreign currency transactions in case if we don't fill in the transaction party in the invoice part. So let me go back to the backend, go to the transaction currency code column, just go to the first cell, add one more condition here. Comma, Ctrl V to paste this one. We need one more field to be not blank. That is the trans party. Right? You see here? Because we have to fill in the trans party to match with the bank account extract in order to return the bank account currency code. That's why our transaction party, our trans party field cannot be blank. Okay? So let me press enter. Then when we move down the transaction currency code, we have a dash here instead of an error that we had before. So let me just go back to this formula. Basically what we have is we're going to return an invoice currency to this column. Let's say this one, purchase invoice 003. Our invoice currency is US dollar. We are settling our US invoice in Japanese yen. For whatever reason. Now we can do it in one page like this, but we need to add a formula just to return the amount in USD. Let me go back to this formula. So our transaction type has to be P. P stands for purchase, and the settled currency code cannot be blank. That means they are filled in, right? And the transaction currency code is different from the settled currency code. Just go show you. Just like this one. The invoice currency code is USD and the settlement currency is JPY, is Japanese yen. We have to fill in the amount that is equivalent in USD. So that's why you have the USD here. Okay? That's the transaction currency code, which is also the invoice currency code. So this one is USD. Let's say we are settling the bank with 500 USD. But then we have to create a conditional format. Just turn this cell to green so that we can enter the amount in USD. We also have the settlement amount, right? Let's say $500 is 10,000 yen. Then we create formula here to calculate the exchange rate based on your actual amount settled in Japanese yen and the equivalent USD amount, right? Which is 500, whatever. That's what we are going to do in a rate. Otherwise, we will return 1. I just make it 1 because let's say USD dollar to USD dollar is 1 to 1, right? That's the convention that I use in the foreign currency transaction. Okay, so let's move on to the exchange rate calculation for a purchase transaction. I call it rate 2P invoice over payment amount. We can just copy this one from the currency on the left side. And this one, instead of returning the transaction currency code, we're going to return the result of a division of payment amount in invoice currency divided by the settlement amount in your settlement currency. Let me just drop the return. Select the payment amount and it's going to be divided by the settlement currency. So let me just press enter. Let me just pick the purchase invoice 003. So the invoice currency is USD dollar, right? And we are settling this with 10,000 Japanese yen, where we enter the amount 500 here. You can enter like 9,000. I just pick whatever number and this rate will be changed, right? Okay, make it back to 500. And now I'm going to move on to the unit. This is purely for display purpose. We can just copy the one from the exchange rate, but change the result here. So this one, the transaction per code, and it is divided by 1 settle per code. And remember, this is a string. We need a double quote and just wrap around this one with a double quote and this one. Now we have the sign. In order to know the $500 in USD that we actually settle the USD invoice, we have to multiply the 10,000 yen to the 0.05 USD divided by 1 Japanese yen. And you cancel out the Japanese yen above and below the line so that only the 10,000 times 0.05 USD remains.